Hey everybody, welcome back to the Overwatch channel on YouTube. In this video, I want to talk to you about the human condition. Now you have your atheists out there, and they're basically reductive materialists, whether they want to admit it or not. And they pretty much feel that humans are just biological robots, basically. Consciousness is an illusion, you know, the stuff that they espouse. And then you have your religious people that want to tell you that the human body is a temple. Now I say that all the data and evidence, if you take a look at it without being cynical, without being a pseudo-skeptic, without, dismissing evidence to make your worldview fit, to keep up your worldview so that you don't have to change it, then I would submit that the true analysis of the totality of evidence and data about our reality is that we're in some kind of prison environment or trapped here. It's not for benevolent purposes. Maybe our energy from our spirit bodies or our energy beings that we actually are feeding something, or maybe we're just created to be a food source for something, as in that was revealed to Robert Monroe in his Far Journeys books. Are we just made to make loosh? But maybe we're too dangerous because we have that divine spark in us. So we have to be kept here sort of like tigers in cages or lions in cages. And, maybe we're extremely dangerous to our creators. Who knows? But if you take a look at all the data and evidence, the human body isn't really a temple like we're told by the religious or the spiritual side when you really think about it. It's more like a prison cell. Now, scientists that honestly study the information about consciousness, if you go to my website, overwatchproject.com, there's a links section, and there's a whole bunch of data. I mean, you could spend days, weeks, maybe years going through all this stuff like I have. And a lot of these scientists, they also want to try to put some type of neutral or benevolent spin on all this. So they tell you that the brain seems to be like a reducing valve for consciousness. Well, why would it need to be reduced unless you want to keep it at bay? So think of the body as like a prison cell, if you would, for the purposes of our talk here. And what do you have? You have limited abilities. Your ability to what people experience, your near-death experiences. Oh, and let me say this. Every now and then I'll get the typical NDE is a hallucination comment in the comment section, and I gotta tell you, folks. I gave the last person that put that comment in there this kind of answer like this. Hallucinations then cured Anita Morjani of cancer. Hallucinations corrected a hand deformity that a man had from 9 years old that all doctors admit and that couldn't have been fixed without surgery, but he was over 60 years old, had an NDE, and within hours his hand was healed. A hallucination did that. That was a case documented by Dr. Penny Satori. Hallucinations allow people to go into other places, other rooms, other places outside of a hospital room, witness events that are later confirmed by doctors, nurses, or other people as being factually correct, or a patient able to describe medical procedures they have no knowledge about, like the Pam Reynolds case, or the Maria Shu case, which was mischaracterized by Christopher Hitchens as he tries to deflect people from when he was alive from knowing the truth. Please, okay, with the hallucination stuff. Hallucinations don't cure cancer. Hallucinations don't let you witness factual events. But you can't get through to these people because they're locked into a worldview and they have to be cynical about the information. So anyway, back to my point. If you take a look at what we know, and it's ridiculous to think that consciousness doesn't go on beyond the body at this point, and with the brain, with all the evidence that we have, it's ludicrous. So what does it all mean? Well, this whole body is a temple thing is kind of nonsense. If you think of it, if you're in a prison cell, you have a tiny window, you can look out your window, you have limited freedom, very limited freedom. Most of your freedoms are taken away. what do people talk about when they finally get out of their bodies in the NDE state? Oh, they have a tremendous sensation of sudden freedom. You're outside there and you have tremendous clarity. Blind people can see. You have the ability to communicate with telepathy. You can know what the doctors and nurses are thinking as they're trying to revive your body if you're in a hospital setting, for example. These are just things factual things I've pulled from many cases. And with all this information about that, and then to try to say that it is benevolent is sort of, I don't know, it doesn't jive. It doesn't make sense with the data and evidence. And then there's the other side of this. People that will admit that we're in a matrix reality, and they're on YouTube. They have interesting concepts like breaking your soul contract, etc. But then they also include other things that don't make any sense to me, like like I've heard this more than once from more than one person, where they tell you to meditate or to to break your soul contract, and they want you to ground yourself to the earth. Have you heard that one? Some of them say that. And I'm thinking to myself, if this is a prison reality, and which it looks like it is, and we're trapped in these bodies, and we have limited ability to think and perceive and to reason, and then we have all these issues, and why would I want to ground myself to the building that's the prison, which is the earth? I mean, isn't that what they're saying? And I think of it as a comparison. You have your prison building and a prison cell, and you're in a prison cell. In order to get out of the prison, they want you to ground yourself to the actual prison complex, which is the material universe. That's, I don't know, that doesn't jive to me. I would say just have the attitude that you know what's going on, and the thing is that I've heard this from people that claim that they've had OBEs, and I've heard it in some NDE cases, so I kind of believe it. I think it makes total sense, actually, that when you're out of body, of course, you have your ego that follows you temporarily, and it's in this transitional phase, that we get interrupted by the entities. Then they shine their beam of love light at you, and then they show your life review, they guilt trip you, and then in all probability eventually you get convinced into agreeing to coming back here and reincarnating again. But and then you have your mind blank, and the whole process starts all over again. But people have been figuring this shit out for 2,000 years, all the way back to the Cathars and the other different types of Gnostics and all this other stuff, which gets a bad label because people don't look into it from religious sides, because the Gnostics have been thoroughly demonized. And in fact, their models fit reality best with all data and evidence. But you have even like an ancient, I remember this ancient document that was discovered recently, which talked about, I think it was from 1200 AD or whatever, and it was a ancient text that described Jesus as a shapeshifter, which kind of goes actually in makes sense with some of the things that were claimed in the Bible about people not recognizing him, etc. Excuse me. So, it's interesting. It's an interesting concept. When you're out of body, your ego follows you, and you have this sort of retention of your human identity, the current one, and you have like extreme cases of that, like Howard Storm's atheist NDE experience, where he's so attached to the material body that he cannot perceive of himself as other than physical. He actually senses his physical body, which is why I believe it was so easy to attack him, so easy to trick him. And then even afterward, in his heavenly experience that he had after his hellish experience, again, I think he's just being played the whole time. I've mentioned that in other videos. And on near-death-death.com, if you were to search, I think there is only one entry here that even mentions the demiurge. And actually there's 3, but I think this one here actually mentions Howard Storm's case. It's just a totality of evidence, folks. So what I suggest is that the body's like a prison cell. It's not a temple. Okay, and it severely handicaps us. And just look at what is going on with our election here. You have a woman that's just a person, really. It doesn't matter if she's a man or a woman. She should be looked at by her character, not her gender or her race. And she's basically a horrible criminal, horrible human being. And yet people are going to vote for her. The cognitive dissonance that people experience, I believe, is caused by the brain. And the brain is like a piece of hardware that is really designed to screw with our being. That's why everything is so hard to figure out here. That's why you talk to people and they look like they're in that hypnotized trance state when you're talking to them, when you're trying to give them information that counters their firmware programming from their brain. It is a horrible condition. Think of our biology. Just think of the human condition. I mean, even if you're a vegan, you still have to eat life to sustain your life. It's a in every direction. This is a parasitic reality, no matter how you look at it. And to think that this was all made by benevolence and all lovingness is insane. It's insane. It's insanity. And I mean, just our biology is kind of disgusting. The biological material, the fluids, the having just the viruses, the bacteria we're surrounded with, everything is feeding off of everything else, and then somehow we're to believe that our souls aren't being fed off by some kind of predatory existence. This is supposed to be a learning experience where you can't remember anything, but yet there's definitely evidence of reincarnation. And then I get that too. Like people say, there's no evidence of reincarnation. Yes, there is. There's overwhelming evidence of reincarnation. I'm not going to get into it all here. I'm tired of trying to preach all the facts when people aren't really interested in but the people that are interested in what I'm saying and that leave so many wonderful comments underneath my video that lead me to even more information, those people already get what I'm saying. And other people, they need to do their own research. It's the only real way to change somebody's mind, actually, is to have them do it themselves, unfortunately. So you can't spoon feed facts to people. It's part of the human tragedy that we have to experience, this biological thing. And you're born, and then you you start dying right away. You grow up. Let's say you're lucky enough to be good looking, attractive in your society, in your culture, and let's say you're lucky enough to live in an advanced society and in relative freedom, and you're healthy all your life, and you're attractive, healthy, and you work out, you eat right, and you're going to die anyway. There's nothing's going to stop it. And these idiots with their transhumanist movement are working on a flawed model where they believe that consciousness is just a product of the physical brain. And that's why their shit will never work. They will never create immortality for themselves because they are not their brains. And until they acknowledge that, it's not going to happen. And the other cool, interesting thing is that if they were to acknowledge it, that they actually might, who knows what they would be capable of doing. Because if people were to acknowledge the data and evidence and actually acknowledge the facts about our reality, could you have your energy being enter a artificial body and merge with it? Like we're trapped in these biological robotic bodies that we're born with? I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about. So, our reality is a prison reality. So why wouldn't our bodies be prison bodies, prison cells? And I would recommend, if you're new to this information, go to my website and check out the Intel and study links. And then underneath that is the Matrix links, which has a lot of information also. I also want to point out that just because I link to something doesn't mean I completely agree with everything here. Everything has to be judged against raw data and evidence available, which is something you have to accumulate over a lot of time and research. And then you have to use logic, real logic, not the logic that atheists claim that they use when they have a system of non-belief despite evidence. I mean, that's really what's going on there. It's like you have your... I'm not going to believe something in spite of the evidence. Yay, I'm an atheist. And I'm going to believe this in spite of the evidence. Yay, I got my religion and my dogmas and doctrines. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then there's people like you that watch my videos that understand where I'm coming from here. And we are apparently a small number of people, because there is a reality establishment, just like the media establishment that controls our news, just like the political establishment. They're all cabals, they're all interrelated to each other, and they're all part of this globalist, utopian, fucking tyrannical bullshit fest that they're having over there. So, but we're, with Brexit and possibly other things going on, who knows, maybe they will be weakened. And people on the internet that can free think, at least for now, we can all share our ideas. And like I said, I've gotten some tips from people, very interesting tips from people, and I've read books because of what people have left comments underneath about. Robert Monroe's books, I would have never read them, but I was given some details about some of his books from comments that people have made, and just it's great. You know who you are, and so that's it. Talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye.